All right, so I am going to model for you guys how I would do this with a group of students the first time that I use one of these launching strategies. So I am going to use the one called Write from a List, okay? And so when Amy Buckner describes this in the book, she talks about setting a timer and asking kids to maybe write their best something, their worst something, or whatever. And it doesn't always have to be a best or worst, but it's whatever topic that you might have that could be from a list. All right, and then that then becomes a writing topic. So I'm going to have my chart paper. So I would have this in front of everybody in my room. I would have students in front of me here on the carpet, okay, and I would model for them how I think about my writing, and then also then what I'm doing as I'm writing. So I want you to sort of take note on some of the things that I do. Again, that I would be doing this, let's say, in front of, second, third, fourth, fifth graders. So I'm not going to, I think she talks about using like 3 minutes in the book. So I am going to I'm going to set mine for like a minute, minute and a half. And just to give you an idea of sort of what that would feel like. But again, I try to model it exactly as I'm going to have students do it when I ask them to do it independently. All right, so this would be that mini lesson part or that focus lesson in the gradual release model. All right, so at the top of my page, I am going to title this, let's see, I'm going to title this Favorite Summer Activities. Okay, so my list is going to be all about my favorite summer activities. Okay, so you'll see I've got my timer here, all right, and I might try to prop it right there. I don't know if it'll work, but I'll just keep it, you'll hear it go off, so that way you'll know. All right, so I'm going to start it, and I'm going to do a minute and a half. I'm going to set my timer for a minute and a half. And okay, I'm going to begin. So some of my favorite things to do in the river or in the summer I like to kayak in the river. I like to go camping. Let's see here. Oh, I like to make homemade ice cream. And let's see, I like to run outside in the mornings. Okay. Let's see, I've got... All right, so I accidentally set that for an hour and 30 minutes. Okay, either way, I think that was a minute and a half. You get the picture. So, these are some things that I like to do. So hopefully you saw in my modeling, I had to stop and think a little bit. So we want to do that. We want to do that in front of kids. Writers have to stop and think. We don't just sit down and just start writing and never stop to try to gather our thoughts or think about the way that we want to say something. So I didn't write my best handwriting. I just sort of made it a list. I didn't use punctuation because here again, it's a list, all right? So, and of course, run outside in the mornings, hence why I look like I do right now. So then what happens with this, the whole purpose of generating a list like this is I now have ideas to write about. So I could write about, I could write a narrative piece, a story piece about a time that I went kayaking, or I could write a, best rivers, so an opinion piece about my the best river to go kayaking in. Again, I could write a narrative piece about going camping. I could write a how-to piece about, like how to be a good camper. I could write a how-to piece about how to make homemade ice cream. I could write an opinion piece about the best flavor of a homemade ice cream. I could talk about running outside in the mornings. So again, I could maybe do. I could do like a story about that. I could do an informational piece. I could look up some facts about running. I could look up facts about, how it sets your day up to exercise in the morning. So some things like that. So this list then takes me, and that's why this is a launching strategy, because once kids have a list like this in their notebook, they can go back and they can reference this list anytime. So when you say, we're going to write a narrative piece, and a kid's like, I don't have anything to write about, then you have them go back in their notebook and say, well, I don't think so. Have you ever, you've got kayaking here, or you've got going camping. Can you tell me a story about a time that your family went camping? There you go. That's the idea. Okay, so each of these strategies is going to set that's why you want to spend a lot of time at the beginning of the school year when you set up a notebook. You want to spend a lot of time, maybe a couple weeks even, just doing launching strategies, so that kids have that first part of their writer's notebook filled with ideas of what they might write about, so that then as the year progresses, they have things to talk about, they have ideas, and when they are stuck, or when they think they're stuck, they have something to go back to and look at. And so Amy Buckner, she talks a lot about that in chapter 2. So she gives you much more information about each of these strategies. She gives you lots of examples of each one. And so you are going to be picking one of these strategies to write your mini lesson this week on. You're going to be choosing one of the launching strategies in chapter 2 of that book. So I definitely think that you will enjoy these, and you'll get an idea of what this looks like. So I hope you've learned something, and I can't wait to see how you all plan lessons to use these launching strategies as well.